Sandra Nomoto, the content doctor, who is one of our featured advertisers. Now, Sandra is a content writer and editor for our authors, and launching her career in the public relations industry, she ran Conscious Public Relations Inc. And over her 10 years in business, Women in Film and Television Vancouver awarded Sandra the 2009 Volunteer of the Year Award. And the company was the fourth public relations agency in Canada to earn B Corporation certification, which is really difficult to get. And she contributed to Women Network Vancouver, earning the Best Social Media and Community Engagement Award. And Sandra also authored The Only Public Relations Guide You'll Ever Need in 2019 and Vegan Marketing Success Stories in 2022, earlier this year. So on the side of her desk, she co-hosts Veg Networking Canada, Canada's only vegan networking group. And she previously served on the boards of directors of the Vancouver Mural Festival and Vancouver Short Film Festival. And Sandra's website is sandranomoto.com, and she's also written for several other outlets, as well as her own having her own blog as well. So I'm just going to bring on Sandra. Hi, Sandra. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for the intro and for allowing me to be here, Shabari.
You're very welcome. So, Sandra, tell us a little bit more about yourself and what was the inspiration for doing what you do and why?
Yes, well, you covered quite a bit in that intro there, so thank you. So after closing my first business, Conscious PR, in 2018, that was actually the year that I went vegan. And so I spent a good year and a half or so kind of figuring out what the next career move for me was going to be. I was freelancing, doing some admin work for a couple of businesses and exploring other careers. I really didn't want to. I didn't think that I wanted to stay in marketing. I was sort of like, I'm done. And let's put that industry behind me. But yeah, over the course of that time, I was, paying attention to what was going on in the vegan space. It's obviously growing. And then I sat down to meditate at the end of 2019 and just got this huge intuitive hit. And my intuition told me, you're vegan now and you'll always be writing. So put those two things together. And I went, oh, okay, let's give this a try. So at the start of 2020, I launched my second business, the one I run now, as the content doctor, with the goal of helping vegan businesses with their written communications. And thanks to the pandemic, I had a bit more time on my hands. So I took courses in book editing and formatting. And because books are the longest piece of content you could possibly work on. And I've always been fascinated about editing. And so so that sort of launched a different suite of services for authors, so I do that. I do coaching. I can do content writing for authors now as well. And then the idea for the book came around the time of my birthday last year. So around the spring of 2021, I usually go to an intuitive and ask her, what do the spirit guides have to say for me for this birthday? And she actually said, you're going to write a book. And I went, what? I really had no ideas at the time about, what I could possibly publish another book on, but just kept thinking about just what I was paying attention to in the vegan industry. And I've always been curious about marketing and how vegan businesses market themselves. And so I Googled and let's see if there's a book out there about vegan marketing. And there isn't. The closest thing is Katrina Fox's Vegan Ventures, which she published in 2016. So I read her book. I was very inspired by it. Her formula is exactly what I was thinking of doing for the marketing book. So so I started sending out the first email requests for case studies at the end of September last year, and then 3 months later I had all of the stories that I needed to form a book, and yeah, my manuscript was finished by early January this year.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Sandra. And just to let the viewers at home know, if you have any questions for Sandra, please put them in the comments, and I will read them out during the course of the interview. So, Sandra, that's really interesting. You mentioned about meditating. Do you do that often? And how often do you do that? And is it something that you would recommend to people who are perhaps a little bit maybe want a little bit of guidance, and perhaps want to get some answers? Is that something that you would recommend people to do?
Oh, absolutely. Whether you're a business owner or not, I found meditation life changing for me. And yeah, to me, it's the superpower. It's the tool that you use to hone your intuition. And for me, intuition has served me so much, both in business and life. And so I originally, I've been meditating sort of since I've learned to do yoga. That was my started to do yoga, and then started to explore different types of meditation. I do follow a similar technique to TM. So I learned TM in 2014. So twice a day, 20 minutes before breakfast, 20 minutes before dinner. So that's sort of the technique that I've continued to practice. And I consider it my superpower, or my secret tool to intuition and just mental wellness in general, which is super important.
Oh, that's wonderful. And how would you say during the pandemic that has been helpful to you?
I don't know if it was any more helpful during the pandemic, because again, I'm a person of routine, and so my routine really did not change all that much during the pandemic, with the exception of not going out as much, right? So I mean, I continued to do my meditation throughout. I would say it was most helpful just before that pandemic hit, because I was in a point in my life where I didn't know what the next sort of big career move for me was going to be. And so that really gave me that inspiration to try content writing for businesses. And then, and originally I had branded myself as the vegan copywriter. So that's what I started out with in 2020. And then I had a previous client from my PR days come to me, and she said, "I want to work with you again, but do I have to be vegan?" And that was interesting because I realized that the word vegan still gives off this sort of I don't know, this air where it's like I of course I want to gravitate vegans toward me. It's great to do business with other vegans, but I realized that I might be unintentionally turning away non-vegans that I would still want to work with. So as long as your business is vegan, that's really my main criteria. The CEO or the staff, yourself don't need to be vegan. So I a couple of months later, I switched from the vegan copywriter to the content doctors, just to be a little bit more inclusive, and not turn away potential non-vegan clients.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sandra. And so how do you help your clients, and why do they choose you as opposed to, somebody else that does copywriting, for example?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you'd have to ask my clients that. I mean, one of the things I did right at the start of 2020 was join as many, vegan networks and communities as I could. So, I was vegan mainstream. Of course, I was paying attention to Vegan Business Tribe and Viva's, which was Katrina's network for women at the time. I ended up joining that in 2021. And of course, being in all of the Facebook Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups. And so I found that it's become, that has helped me connect with other vegans more. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was your question again?
Oh, it was how do you help your clients, and why do they choose you as opposed to going to somebody else?
Yeah, and a lot of my clients are local, so they're in the Vancouver or the BC area. So yeah, I think just proximity wise, that's helpful as well. And then in terms of the types of content, so I do website copy. I really love going into a brand new website, or if a company is redoing its website, really making that copy shine. And I do a lot of longer form content, so blogs, articles, emails sometimes. I can do social media descriptions, but usually it's the client that posts that themselves. So it's not often that I get asked to do social media. But yeah, I would say the long form content is how I help businesses. And then of course the authors are a different story. They have a whole different suite of services.
Wonderful, thank you. And could you give some examples of the work that you have done for your clients? Maybe you could give an example of what you've done for a particular client.
Yeah, I guess most recently I've been helping Bread, so BRED, which is Whistler's plant-based bakery. So Whistler is a ski and snowboard town, about a 2-hour drive north of Vancouver. And I have to say I haven't even tried their goods yet, but they're an amazing bakery. They've been making waves, globally, and I'm so fortunate to have been invited to help them put out a monthly newsletter and then a weekly blog. And so even if they're just based in Whistler, and that's most their customers are mostly based there, it is very much a destination city. So in the wintertime, people are coming from all over the world. And so it's very important for them to put Whistler on the map, and then of course their own bakery. And so so coming up with blog topics that will attract even visitors to Whistler has been really fun.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I know Natasha myself as well.
Yeah, Natasha and Ed are great. They're amazing.
So, in terms of do you you mentioned about Bread, but do you also work with those who are based outside Canada as well?
Yeah, I've done a bit of work for a few American clients. I think one in Australia. Yeah, so I mean, usually they're Canadian, but yeah, I have done some work with folks abroad.
Wonderful. And so could you tell us about a little bit more about your latest book, Vegan Marketing Success Stories, and how the idea for your book came about?
Yeah. So yeah, as I said earlier, I was really inspired by Katrina Fox's Vegan Ventures. She really wrote the very first vegan business book in the world. And so I thought, well, my book could be the second. So and then her formula is getting case studies of folks who run vegan businesses. And so I really wanted to take the few chapters that she started with about marketing and then flesh that out into an entire book. And so my book is two things. So it's a guide to marketing. So even if you are brand new to business, have no idea how to market your business, you can open this book and you'll get, pretty much almost every tactic that at least I could think of that exists out there. And that's in this book. So it's a guide to marketing. And then second, it's a collection of stories of vegan businesses. And of course, just a small sliver of them around the world. My idea was if I want 50 case studies, I should reach out to about 200 companies around the world. And that number actually ended up being almost 280.
Wow.
because if I didn't hear back from a company, even after following up by email, or if they said no, I would just go on to the next company on the list. And so the
Mm,
list ended up getting quite long. In the end, I received 47 stories, which is
mm,
great. I almost reached that 50 number. But because I did find that there were some gaps. So I wanted at least one example of a vegan business for every tactic that I mentioned. And so
mm,
what I did was I ended up just doing research online, and I included an extra about 3 dozen businesses in there as well, and got their permission to use those examples. So in the
mm,
end, there are about 80 vegan businesses mentioned in the book.
mm,
Yeah, which and all around the world. And I really tried to get a good diverse range of, yeah, female, male founded businesses, people of color, different types of businesses, and then different sizes of businesses. So solopreneurs all the way up to big corporations. Unfortunately, a lot of the big corporations did not respond,
mm,
or they couldn't get involved. So this is
mm,
very much a book catered to the startup founder or the small to medium sized business. And so if
mm,
you're in that boat, this is the book for you, because all the stories in there are of small to medium sized businesses, and not huge budgets either. I think the most
mm,
that was mentioned was maybe a 20,000 pound campaign that was done, which is what, roughly for 50,000 Canadian dollars.
mm.
So those are the types of budgets we're working with. They're not huge $1 million budgets.
That's fantastic, and that's really fantastic that you've got a variety of different people that you were promoting as part of your book. All sizes, as you mentioned, all sizes of different companies. Not the really big ones, as you've mentioned. They didn't reply, but that's really great that you've given them a platform as well. So, right. So we've actually got a question come in from one of the viewers at home. Did you find most businesses were willing to share their marketing secrets with you when you approached them?
Yeah, I would say that the ones that came back with stories absolutely did. And I should say the rest of that, 200 and whatever, 240 number, either they didn't respond. So, I mean, it could be, it just didn't reach the right person. And I
Mm.
did my best to, some of them I just had to go through the hello or the info at, and then hope that customer service forwarded me to the right person. For others, I did a little bit more sleuthing. So, really tried to connect with the right person on LinkedIn, or sent, an Instagram DM or a Twitter DM if I really, really wanted that company in. Yeah. And then a few others, said no, just because they were too busy, or they were too early in their business. Like they were still under a year in business and didn't really have any marketing data to share. And then there
Mhm.
were only 3 companies that I approached, and their stories were not even really stories. Like they didn't share enough. And
Mm.
so unfortunately I couldn't use their company examples, but I found that for the most part, the ones that did come back were quite willing to share. And some of the stories were very, very short, like a few sentences. They're like, here's
Mm.
what we do, and that's it. Like no context, no fancy explanation. And I ended up using a lot of those as well, because as long as it contributed to yeah, a chapter, I used those short stories as well. But yeah.
Wonderful. And can I ask, what can people, what are the main sort of learning points in your book, Vegan Marketing Success Stories?
Well, there's a lot. So, I mean, the number one thing that I learned writing this book is that no marketing strategy is the same.
Mm,
It's fascinating. The combination of tactics that each company said that they use is different. Like no company is using the same combination of tactics as another business. And so I found that really interesting, and it just reassured for me that you have to find what works for you and your business. Even if you tried to copy the exact same strategy as your competitor was doing and put, the same amount of ad budget and put it out at the same time, you might get different results because your audience might be a little bit different. So, so that's the number one thing that I found. And in terms of, sort of tactics. So I'll give you a rundown of the chapters. So this gives you an idea of the different types of tactics that you'll learn. So in chapter 1, it's marketing basics, which I initially wasn't planning to write, but because of the stories that I got back, some of them talked about how just coming up with a title that had the word vegan in it, that was their key to marketing. So there's I talk a bit about the pros and cons of using the word vegan in your company title. Vegan Business Tribe shared how much the customer journey has been key to their marketing. So that inspired a whole section on customer service in that basics chapter. And then chapter 2 is advertising and direct marketing. So very much the old school type of tactics. Chapter 3 is sales promotions. Chapter 4 is public relations. Chapter 5 is digital marketing. And those are the 2 longest chapters. So that just gives you an idea that most businesses are using either or both public relations and digital marketing. And then the next chapter is events and direct selling. So more of the face-to-face type of tactics. And then the last chapter is called everything else, because there are some sections in there that weren't long enough to form their own chapters. So in that chapter, I have how businesses pivoted during the pandemic in terms of their marketing. I have a section on diversity and inclusion and the importance of that in your marketing, which I'm really proud of. And then I have a section on businesses that transitioned to becoming vegan and how they're using that in their marketing. So that gives you an idea of what you'll learn in this book.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Sandra. And would you say that there is a difference between the way that vegan businesses market as opposed to not how non-vegan businesses do their marketing?
Yeah, that's a great question. In terms of tactics, absolutely not. Everybody's using the same tools, right? We all have the same tools at our disposal. The only thing that I would add is that with vegan businesses, you have to figure out how much education around veganism or activism is a part of your messaging and your story. Because with vegan businesses, it's very natural to talk about, like, for example, you sell a plant-based meat alternative. Obviously you might need to talk about why it's important for people to try a plant-based meat alternative instead of eating animals. And so naturally there might be more education or more information about activism involved in there. And that's not common with all the other non-vegan types of businesses.
Great, thank you. And going through your bio, I mean, it's very, very impressive. In terms of the B certification, how and I mentioned that is quite a difficult thing to do. How did you manage to get that?
Yeah, so for if you aren't aware of how B Corporation is actually earned, you have to fill out an assessment of your company called the B Impact Assessment. And it's actually absolutely free for anyone to go online. You can start a free account and take this assessment yourself and see where you land. Right? That's the first thing you can do. And I should also say, when I first went for the certification, so when I ran Conscious PR, I was really the only employee. I did have team members, but they were all contractors and interns. And so I was still, a solopreneur type of business. And the assessment for that level of business is actually a little bit easier than the ones that big corporations have to fill out. So that was one tip that I didn't know about, that the staff at B Lab informed me of. They said, "Oh, you should be on this easier assessment." So just be aware of the level of business that you're at. And then, so the first time I took the assessment online, I think I scored 20 out of 200 points, and you need at least 80 to apply for the certification. So it gives you an idea of how much work you have to do to build up those points. And so, so I did, I once I knew where I was at, or actually, I think I was at 40 points when I first filled it out. And so just took all the steps that I thought I could. And I think I landed at about 69. And then I was like, okay, I need some help. And so I hopped on a call with the staff member at B Lab, and they said, here are a couple of the other things that you can do to get that, push yourself over the 80. And so once I did that, I was ready to go for the certification. So even if you're a small business, nonprofit businesses do not apply. So as long as you're a for-profit small business, and if that's important to you, having that certification and something that you want to share with your consumers and your partners and so on, it's absolutely possible. You just have to go online and give it a try.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sandra. And so what's in the pipeline for you? I mean, you mentioned that you previously served on the boards of directors for the Vancouver Mural Festival and the Vancouver Short Film Festival. Is that something that that you may possibly be doing in the future, or do you have any other sort of similar projects that you might be having in the pipeline in the future? What are you planning for 2023?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm still in my book launch phase. So the paperback and audio just came out on World Vegan Day. So, we're into the second week of November right now. So the book is still quite new. I'm still appearing on a lot of podcasts and trying to get featured in media to spread the word about the book. So I'll probably still be doing that for the next few months. And then in terms of volunteer work, I'm not on any other boards right now, but Veg Networking Canada keeps me very busy. So I co-host this group with Justin Manning. His story is actually in my book as well. So our group is for vegans across Canada who want to network on Zoom every Thursday, 1 p.m. Pacific time for an hour. And then we also welcome special guests. So if special guests, again, they run vegan businesses, may not necessarily be vegan themselves. We still like to bring those folks on and talk about how they started their businesses and so on. So half of our meeting is interviewing either a new member or a special guest, and then the rest of the hour is networking. So that's what I've been doing since sort of mid last year. And it's such a great way to meet other vegan Canadians or Canadians, running vegan businesses and learning what they're up to. I can't plan too far ahead. That's really all that's keeping me busy right now.
Oh yes, absolutely, and as you've mentioned, with the book launch for and we're still in November, so no, that's really fantastic what you're doing. Can I ask you, with your Veg Network, how many members are there, and what kind of businesses are in your network?
Yeah, we have 40 members across 3 provinces right now, BC, Ontario, and Quebec. So if you're Canadian, you're vegan, you're listening to this, you want to join, please get in touch with me. Yeah, we'd love to get more Canadians in all the other provinces and territories across Canada. So there's 40 of us that either can join weekly, or we record the interview portion. So you can listen to those up on YouTube. Anybody can listen to those as well. And then special guests, again, they just come one time for the interview.
Brilliant, thank you. And so going back to your book, how can people purchase your book? Those who are watching, who are interested in buying your book.
Yes. So the ebook is available online wherever ebooks are sold. The audio you can get on Audible, and then the paperback yeah, I highly recommend you get it on Lulu. But Rock Chalks in the UK is also selling. And then if you're in North America, Vegan Supply and Friend and Foe are also selling, and they ship across North America. So those are the other few places you can get the paperback. And then if you want a signed copy from me and you're in North America, I can ship it to you. And all of the links are on my website. So if you go to sandranomoto.com and then just hop on my products page, you'll get all of the links there.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sandra. And also, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way? Would it be email or through your website, or what's the best way that people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, social media through my name, Sandra Nomoto, or my website, same thing, sandranomoto.com. If you want to look specifically at the Content Doctor services, you can go to thecontentdoctor.co, and that'll forward you to the right page.
Wonderful, thank you. And if do you have a newsletter that people can sign up to if they're interested, you know, in what you do? How can people sign up to your newsletter?
Yeah, if you just hop onto my website, either a pop-up will come up, or you can scroll down to the footer and you can sign up there. And I'm still putting out weekly newsletters. That was not my frequency before I started the book launch. So I'll be putting out weekly newsletters until about earlier mid-December, and then it'll go back to a monthly frequency. So a little bit easier on the inbox at that time.
Fab. And in your newsletter, do you share tips? What kind of content would people expect to see when they sign up to your newsletter?
Yeah, I have a free 5 types of writers guide that you'll get soon as you sign up. And right now, a lot of my content is focused on the book. So I share a lot of the contributors and examples that are in the book. But yeah, like I said, once I go to more of a monthly frequency, it'll probably be more along the lines of content marketing tips.
Brilliant. And before I go to the another question from a viewer, I wanted to ask you, who's your inspiration? Who would you say inspires you from the vegan community?
Yeah, there's a lot of folks, I would say. I follow a lot of vegans and vegan influencers. 2 come to mind right now. Jennifer Stojkovic at Vegan Women's Summit. She's just doing amazing things with her community, and I believe she's at COP right now. She got invited by the UN to appear.
Wow.
So yeah, I thought I saw something on LinkedIn today around that. So she's amazing. And then also Erin Ireland, who's here in my city of Vancouver. She has run a baked goods company called To Live for many years, even before the goods were vegan. But she's finally opening her an actual retail and brick and mortar bakery location in East Vancouver. So To Live For Bakery, and I think they're in the last steps of of setting it up. So I'm super excited to go over there and try the vegan baked goods that she has to offer.
Wonderful. So this is, I'll just bring up the question from one of the Facebook users. Are there plans to expand the Canadian vegan network internationally? Can those outside Canada join?
That's a great question. And unfortunately, no, our network is only open to Canadians. And that's because I know that there are many vegans in Canada that we just haven't reached yet. Or, you know, for whatever reason, maybe they wouldn't want to join our network. But our network is only open to Canada. But like I said, our interviews are all up on YouTube. So no matter where you are around the world, you can hop on our YouTube channel, just search, or actually we have a link now, youtube.com/Veg Networking Canada. And you can, look at all of the interviews of our members, and then all the special guests that we invite.
Brilliant, thank you. And in terms of the how popular veganism is where you live. Would you say that that it's becoming more and more common, and are there more vegan restaurants now where you live than before, would you say?
Yeah, great question. So I started my journey at the end of 2007, and even though I've only been vegan technically for about 4.5 years, I've sort of seen the scene grow out here, and we've always had a good number of, I would say, plant forward restaurants,
Mm,
but certainly in the last, I would say, 5 years, the number of vegan businesses and companies providing alternatives has grown.
mm,
I don't think we have too many vegan only restaurants, but
mm,
certainly more vegan menus have popped up in omnivore restaurants, which is great.
mm.
And then we have quite a thriving activism scene and online communities out here. We have a number of Facebook groups that people are very active in. So I would say definitely in the last five years, it's yeah, become quite good.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sandra. And can I ask you, what message would you like to leave the viewers at home with?
Wow. So if you're a vegan business, again, uh, don't underestimate the power that you have. I think even if you're a small business, by choosing to have a vegan business, you are creating such a positive impact in our economy. And kudos to you. And of course, if you want to learn more marketing tips, you can pick up my book and learn more from the vegan businesses that are featured there and how they're using their marketing to grow their business. And if you are not vegan yet, I just want to say, it's possible. I never thought it was possible for me to go vegan, but the values that I hold as a person are all in the vegan lifestyle, and this is the best lifestyle to make positive impact in the world. And so, if that calls out to you, please know that it is possible, and seek out the resources. I actually I've created a resources list very recently on my own website. So if you go to my list page, and scroll down to the plant-based section, you'll see all of my resources there that have been so helpful to me in my vegan journey. And yeah, and just keep going forward and trying to go vegan because we need you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sandra. I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure to interview you, and it's been great to get to know you, because we've known each other for a couple of years. You know, we were in touch with each other through the pandemic. So it's really great to get to know you better, and for the viewers watching this as well, for them to get to know you better. And I want to wish you the best of luck with your book, and with what you're doing, spreading the vegan message, and then continuing the work that you're doing with your veg network as well. So thank you so much, Sandra.
Thank you so much, Shabari. It's my pleasure to be here.
You're welcome. And thank you to the viewers at home for watching. If you have any further questions for Sandra, what I'll do is I will put Sandra's details in the comments section, ways of you could how you can get in touch with Sandra directly, and also a link to sign up to Sandra's newsletter as well, and where you can purchase her book through her website. So thank you to the viewers at home for watching as well. And yeah, if you're wherever you are in the world, please do share the video and share the love. And if you're not yet vegan, go vegan. I mean, it's just never been easier. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching.